Hi guys, as promised, this is the technicals of fat loss video. For those of you who've jumped straight into this one, this is a part 2 to a video that I previously made, which I'll link over here. Press the I button, which should be right about here. I hope so. I look like a big fool if I'm wrong about this, so fuck. Let me just take this chance. Let me use this excuse to pull my sleeves back a little bit, flex my arms a little bit. Untrained arms, by the way, which I haven't been able to train because of fucking this. But anyways, I'm not asking you to watch that video just to get more views to more of my videos. This video really is a sort of a part 2 to that video. That video covers the theory, to which this covers the practical. That video answers the why to the how that we'll answer with this video. So once and for all, go watch that video first for this one to make sense. Let's begin. We got to start with some fundamentals. We need a base that we can build upon. So very quickly, what is fat loss technically? Fat is nothing but excess calories that your body stores. What are calories? Calories are nothing but energy. So fat is literally excess energy that your body has stored for times of scarcity. So how would fat loss technically occur? When you consume lesser calories than your body requires to function, your body has no option but to tap into these reserves, to tap into these stores in order to get the energy that it requires to function. Now this, when you're eating lesser calories than your body requires just to function, or in other words, when you're consuming lesser calories than your body is burning, is called a caloric deficit. Now what is a caloric surplus? A caloric surplus is the exact opposite of a caloric deficit. Here, you're consuming more calories than your body is burning. There is a net positive in the energy balance, and the body stores these excess calories as fat. What about maintenance calories? These are the amount of calories that your body burns on a daily basis. As long as you're eating at maintenance, you should neither lose fat nor should you gain fat. Now you might say all that is fine and good, but tell me, and if you've seen my previous videos, that the question to ask here is not what should I eat, rather how much should I eat. If that wasn't obvious to you, if what I just said confuses you, link to another video on the top right of your screen, press the I button. Let's get back to that question now. How much should you eat? You see, we have to answer that question keeping in mind that your body's self-defense system is a very real thing, is a major thing that you need to account for. So like we discussed in the last video, our goal is not just weight loss, but fat loss with minimal muscle loss. I don't think we need to go into why you would not want to lose muscle, right? I mean, metabolism, strength, aesthetics. Moving on, how do we do that? How do we lose fat while ensuring that we're also losing as little muscle as possible? By ensuring that we are minimally activating the body's self-defense system. And how do we do that? By eating as many calories as possible. Now let's not forget our main goal over here, which is fat loss. So we need to be eating at a caloric deficit while at the same time ensuring that we're eating as many calories as possible. What does that look like? Here's your maintenance. This is a caloric surplus. This is a caloric deficit. This portion right here is exactly where you want to be. How much this varies, where exactly this lies, we'll get to all of that. But you want to lose fat, so you want to be on a caloric deficit. But see, if you're over here, you risk your body aggressively turning on its self-defense system, and then that causes a whole host of problems, which we discussed in the previous video. So the most optimal, the most efficient way to go about fat loss is to stay right over here. Now, how do we do that? What's the first step towards determining what this looks like? The first step is to determine what this looks like. What is this? Your maintenance calories. So let's begin by calculating what your on-paper maintenance should be. The website I want you to go to is tdeecalculator.net, which stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure, which is the same as maintenance calories. So tdeecalculator.net. Go to that website, input your variables, find out your on-paper maintenance calories. So they ask you for your age, your weight, your height, your activity levels, and your body fat percentage. Okay. I think the rest of them are self-explanatory, but let me help you out a little bit with your body fat percentage. See, what I want you to do now is open up Google Images and search body fat percentage men. Open up the first picture that you see. There should be built, lean, written on top of that. See, there are multiple ways to calculate your body fat percentage. There's skin calipers, there's BIA, there's DEXA scan. There are multiple extremely expensive ways to calculate your body fat percentage, but the most value for time as well as money way that I see is to just open up this picture that I just told you to look at and judge for yourself where you would stand. Like, I mean, I'm seeing this picture right now, and I can clearly see that I am definitely below 15%, and I am definitely a little bit above the 10 to 12% range that I see. So I would put myself somewhere around 13 to 13.5%, not 14, because I'm closer to the 10 to 12% guy than I'm to the 15% guy. That is how I want you to go about it. That is the most effective, the easiest way to calculate your body fat percentage. Okay, so you do that, go back to the calculator, input all of your variables, find out your on paper maintenance calories. Now, this is likely not going to be your actual maintenance, because there are going to be individual factors about you that are going to influence your metabolism in particular, right? At the end of the day, your body is going to respond to the same things at least a little bit differently than mine. Similarly, my body is going to react to the same things at least a little bit differently than somebody else's. This is as far as the formulas and equations are going to get you. To go the rest of the way, to get a more accurate number for you, we need data. We need your data. What data do we need? What are maintenance calories? Maintenance calories are the calories at which you're neither gaining nor losing weight. So what data would we need? What variables would we need? Calories and weight. More particularly, your daily calories and your daily weight. Let's use an example to understand this better. Let's say your on paper maintenance calories comes out to be about 3,000. Now, I would recommend, but you know yourself best, so let me just say this. If you have crash dieted for extended periods of time over the past few years, I would recommend starting off about 150 to 200 calories below what your on paper maintenance calories comes out to be. So if your on paper maintenance was 3,000 and you've crash dieted for a while, I would recommend starting off at 2,800. So we start off at 2,800. What you do now is you eat 2,800 calories every single day for a week. Why a week? In the scientific community, this is considered the norm of going about it. This is how you go about it, because daily variances are going to exist. Daily variances are the normal thing to happen. They are not the exception, they will happen. So, for example, one day you weigh 70 kgs and you are on a deficit, and the next you see that your weight is at 70.1, you might think that you're doing something wrong. But the very next day again, you see that your weight drops down to 69.7 or something. So this is expected to happen. So how you should go about it is to take a weekly measure. So compare your weight week to week. That is how I would recommend you go about it. Take your weight every single day and compare the weekly averages to each other, and accordingly adjust your calories until you find an amount where you can stick at indefinitely and your weight should not budge. That will be your actual maintenance calories. Now, if you need a little help understanding how to go about tracking your calories every meal, every day of the week, let me know, drop me a comment, we'll make that video happen. To summarize so far, your goal was to lose fat, but you learned that the way to go about it was not to shed all of the excess weight off as soon as possible, to crash diet, to eat as little as humanly possible. In fact, that is literally the worst way to go about it, thinking long term. So the way to go about it, the goal to set is not absolute weight loss, rather as much fat loss as possible with minimal muscle loss. Fat loss with minimal activation of the body's self-defense system. How do you do that? By eating as much as possible. Instead of eating as little as possible, your goal is to eat as much as possible while still eating lesser than you're burning. What does that look like? Let's say this is your maintenance calories, this is surplus, this is deficit. You want to be right about here. Now, we spent the past few minutes figuring out how exactly to get over here, which was by first finding out your on paper maintenance, which we used as a ballpark figure to calculate our actual maintenance. Now we move on to this. Now, see, we need to strike a balance over here. We definitely don't want to eat so little that we risk aggravating our body, we risk scaring our body into activating the body, activating its self-defense system full on, because nobody wants that, dude. You're gonna end up gaining more weight than you started off with if you do that. We know from the previous video how scary that is, but we also don't want to risk eating so much that we are barely losing any weight. That it takes us multiple weeks just to shed a few 100 grams, which will undoubtedly make you lose all of your motivation to go about this entire process. It is a time consuming process. It is something that requires effort from your end. If it takes you multiple weeks just to shed a few 100 grams, you'll lose the motivation to keep tracking your calories, to keep tracking your weight, to stay on top of your shit. So we need to strike a balance. Now, scientifically, the most optimal, the most efficient, the most effective range to be at is between 0.4% to 0.8% of your body weight per week. The maximum, like if you're really determined, if you really want to lose the weight, the maximum you should go is 1% body weight per week. That means if you're a 70 kg guy, no matter what, no matter how overweight you are, no matter how bad you want to lose weight, you do not want to go beyond losing 700 grams a week. That is where you start entering the scary territory of the body's self-defense system. So if you're a 70 kg guy, you ideally want to lose somewhere between 280 to 560 calories per week, no more than that. If you really want to lose the weight, if the weight is hurting your self-confidence, if it's hurting your self-esteem, we'll go to the extent of saying, okay, 700 grams per week, but no more than that. So now we know your actual maintenance calories, and we know that we want to lose anywhere between 0.4 to 0.8% of your body weight per week. Now, I'll be honest, there are many more equations that we could get into to calculate exactly how many calories from your actual maintenance should you drop to lose fat within this range, but I think that is unnecessary. I would recommend doing exactly what you did to calculate your actual maintenance, which was to use your own data. So here's how you go about it. You found out your actual maintenance, right? Drop 500 below that. Let's assume at 2700 calories you find your maintenance. So to lose fat now, what you want to do is start at 2200 calories and see where that gets you. Are you losing anywhere between 280 to 560 grams per week? If yes, perfect. If not, adjust accordingly. If you're losing lesser than 280 calories per week, drop your calories a little more. If you're burning more than 560 calories per week, increase your calories a little bit. And that is how you lose fat in the most optimal, the most efficient way possible. Takes all of the guesswork, all of the confusion out of the equation. All you need is your data, which you have in front of you, which you analyze and accordingly make changes to. I know this was a bit of a difficult one, guys. Hands down the most difficult topic that I've tried to cover on video till date. I tried my level best to simplify everything as much as I possibly could, but I understand that I might have missed the mark here and there. I understand that you probably have at least a few questions, so please, anywhere that you felt confused, anything that you didn't fully understand now, or when you actually start doing all of this, when you start implementing all of this, you're bound to get stuck somewhere or the other. You're bound to have a lot of things you do not completely understand how to go about, some problem that you're facing that you're not sure how to tackle, how to go ahead with. So please, anything that's on your mind, anything that you don't understand, drop me a comment. Let me help you out with it. I wish you guys all the very best on your fat loss journeys, and I'll see you in the next one.